Hello, my name is Elena Cordova, and I would like to present to you the personal interest project that Kaya and I have been working on for these past few months. For our PIP personal interest project, Kaya and I have decided that we are both interested in eating food and being healthy and keeping our bodies healthy. So we decided that a good way to mix the two was to make a cookbook, a healthy cookbook. So we brainstormed about how we can make our cookbook unique and researched the healthiest ways to do that and the healthiest diets there are. And we found that the second healthiest diet that also has the second smallest carbon footprint is being a vegetarian, and that means not eating any meat at all. The first diet that has the lowest carbon footprint is being a vegan. But we decided that we wanted our cookbook to be easy for kids our age to use, and simple recipes and vegetarian recipes were easiest to make and simplest to make, and anybody can do them, the ones we included in our cookbook. So we decided that we were going to make a healthy vegetarian cookbook. We found out that current production levels of meat are between 14 and 22% of the 36 billion tons of CO2 equivalent greenhouse gases that the world produces each year. So we decided it would be interesting to make a vegetarian cookbook that includes recipes that are healthy, reduce CO2 emissions, and are easy to make. So CO2 is carbon dioxide, and it's a gas that is produced when people and animals breathe out or when certain fuels are burned, and these fuels are burned in the transportation of the meat, and then all of the livestock, which is the meat, are creating CO2 as they're living animals, just like us. Carbon dioxide is emitted into the atmosphere, which causes global warming because it is a greenhouse gas. And you might be wondering, what are greenhouse gases? Well, greenhouse gases are gases that contribute to the greenhouse effect by absorbing infrared radiation. And the greenhouse effect is a process which thermal radiation is absorbed by the atmospheric greenhouse gases and is re-radiated in all directions, causing climate change, because it's causing the climate to warm up. So climate change can negatively affect the Earth's delicate ecosystems and has been linked to dying coral reefs, dangerous new weather patterns, and the extinction of many animal species. So this is obviously a very big deal, and eating vegetarian, you can make even a little bit of difference, actually a lot of a difference, because meat production is one of the leading emitters of CO2 and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So current production levels of meat contribute between 14 and 22% of all the 36 billion tons of CO2 equivalent gases the world produces each year. So in terms that are easier to understand, producing half a pound of hamburger, which is meat the size of 2 decks of cards, which is about like that much, releases as much greenhouse gas into the atmosphere as driving a 3,000-pound car for 10 miles. So that's that much this much meat is equivalent to a car driving 10 miles, basically. So that's not good. So it is important that you eat vegetarian, and even if it's only for one day a week, you can reduce your CO2 emissions 6.6 pounds per week if you just stay one day without eating that much meat, which is really good. So here are some questions that I think that I will be asked. What is your essential problem for this project? So obviously the essential problem is meat production produces too much CO2 and greenhouse gases, and becoming a vegetarian can halve your personal CO2 emissions if you stay with it. It will help the environment. And our cookbook is easy to make. Kaya and I have made all of these recipes ourselves, so they're completely doable. Anybody can do them. So, yeah. What was our favorite part? What was my favorite part about this project was probably researching about CO2 and its effect on the climate, and meat production specifically. I had no idea that meat production and something like your diet could affect the atmosphere or like the climate. So much. I didn't know it could affect it so much. So it really gave me a different perspective about it, and that was probably my favorite part, is learning that much about it. Another part was cooking with Kaya, because it was just fun to do, and researching the recipes and making them was fun, and it was quite challenging to complete all the recipes that we had in mind. We first wrote down a ton of them, and we went through them, and we planned on cooking like one per night, but that was just completely out of the question. There wasn't enough time for that, but we got the ones we needed to do, and we made it work after all. The hardest part of this project was, like I just said, I guess, finding the time to make all the recipes. With our busy schedules, we had to really make time to do it, and also one of the hardest parts, which is probably the hardest part, is spending so much money on the ingredients, because Kai and I both spent around $150 on the ingredients throughout the whole project. So that's $150 each, which is $300 altogether for this project. And it was sort of, I don't know. Yeah, so the hardest part of this project was finding time to cook and spending money on this. But we made it work, and putting it into Wattpad instead of printing out a book saved us a lot of time and gave us a chance to make more recipes instead of having to make all of our recipes and then have them put into a book where we could print it. Okay, so the next question is, how are skills from all 4 disciplines exemplified? And these are math, science, social studies, and art, history, English. I don't know. We incorporated math with our calculating costs. We really just calculated the costs, and overall it cost $300. We also had to plan out a lot of things on calendars and stuff. That's math. And for science, we did a lot of research on CO2 emissions, like I said, and that was probably my favorite part. Art was taking pictures, and I think cooking is art. To be honest, personally, I think cooking is art. English, I wrote some short articles in the cookbook that have to do with CO2 emissions and why people are motivated to become vegetarians. And so, yeah. And another question is, how could you improve your project over time? And Kai and I would love to keep adding recipes to our project, because we only had around 15 finished recipes, and each of them are easy to make and completely doable. But that's still only 15 recipes, and we wish we could have added more if we had more time. And over time, we still can add more vegetarian recipes that are easy to make. But we made sure that each recipe we put in our book was worth it. Kai and I are both very excited about this project and are happy to have completed it, and it was very interesting reading so many articles about the different diets making different emissions. Like I said, the vegan diet has the smallest carbon footprint, and the meat lovers diet has the largest. Meat production really does cause an impact on our climate, and being a vegetarian or even just cutting back on your meat can really help save the earth and like really just help. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.